Last Sunday, my mom called me just to talk, but within 30 seconds, she was screaming that I'd abandoned my family because I wouldn't pay for my sister's surprise bachelorette trip. The same trip I wasn't invited to. The same sister who didn't show up to my birthday. That call. It's what set the entire family war in motion. I'm Lucas, 29, and somehow the only guy in my mom's side of the family. My dad left when I was 11, and since then it's been a sea of estrogen. My mom, 2 older sisters, 3 aunts, and a swarm of cousins. They've always called themselves the Circle. Sounds cute, right? Not when you realize it's basically a velvet rope club that only admits women, except when bills are due. For years, I played along. I covered emergency repairs, paid deposits for family trips, fixed cars, unclogged drains, you name it. And I never asked for anything back except a seat at the table. Literally. Just an invite now and then to a dinner, a birthday, a day trip. But apparently, I was only useful if I was swiping my card or hauling heavy furniture. The first time I noticed it stung was 2 summers ago. They did a Just Us Girls wine tour. My sisters were all over Instagram, posting group photos and matching t-shirts. The kicker? I'd been the one who suggested that winery the year before. Still, I shrugged it off. Maybe it was just their thing. Maybe I was overthinking. But then the pattern sharpened. Dinners? Girls only. Weekend getaways? Girls only. Even a baseball game once. Apparently still girls only. And every time they posted the pictures in the family group chat, I'd send a thumbs up emoji and scroll past like it didn't bother me. It did. Not because I'm desperate for spa days or mimosa brunches, but because I'm their son, brother, nephew, and the one quietly footing the bill more often than not. My sisters get showered with praise for baking a pie. I bought mom a brand new washer last year after hers broke mid-cycle and got a flat, thanks, like I'd handed her a spare umbrella. Then came last month. I found out about my sister Mia's surprise bachelorette trip the same way I found out about most family events these days, through Instagram. There she was, boarding a plane with my other sister and all the aunts, captioning it. The Circle hits the coast. No text, no call, no invite. But here's the part that really twisted the knife. My credit card was on the booking. Turns out, my mom had assumed I'd cover the deposit like I did for their last trip. She didn't even bother to ask. She just used the saved info from an old rental site account I'd set up for them. I only found out when the payment alert hit my phone while I was eating lunch at work. $1,450 pending. I stared at it for a good minute, wondering if maybe I'd blacked out and agreed to this. Nope. Checked my messages. No mention of it anywhere. So I canceled it. Instantly. No warning. No explanation. Just click. Refund. Done. The fallout started in less than an hour. First it was Mia texting, "Hey, payment issue with the rental. Can you check?" Then my mom chiming in with, "We already told everyone it's booked. Don't ruin this." Ruin this? They booked a vacation without me, on my card, didn't invite me, and I'm the one ruining things? I didn't respond. Silence hits harder than shouting. The next morning, my phone blew up again. This time it wasn't questions, it was guilt. Family supports each other. We've done so much for you. Mia's big day is being ruined because of your pride. They still didn't get it. It wasn't about the trip. It was about respect. And if they weren't going to give it willingly, I was done buying it. I started saying no. Small things at first. Rides, small loans, quick favors. The Circle noticed immediately. But what I didn't know yet was that my no was about to ignite a full-blown family implosion. After a week of me saying no to every request, the silence was deafening. The group chat that normally lit up my phone with endless chatter had gone dry. I knew it wasn't peace. It was the calm before something messy. It came on a Thursday morning. I was halfway through my coffee when my phone rang on. She never calls unless it's either tragedy or trouble. I answered. Her voice was trembling. "It's Mia. She's in the hospital. Bad car accident. They're saying she might need surgery." I froze mid-sip. For a moment, all the old instincts kicked in. Grab the keys, head to the ER, throw my card at the bill. But something didn't sit right. She didn't say which hospital. Didn't mention what happened. Didn't even say when. Just, "We need to get money together fast." I asked, "Where is she?" She hesitated. "St. Vincent's, but they won't let visitors in yet. Too many tests. She's in and out." That sounded rehearsed. I told her I'd call the hospital directly. Her voice sharpened instantly. "No, don't do that. They won't give you information." That was it. The mask slipped. The urgency wasn't about Mia, it was about money. I hung up, pulled up Instagram, and there it was. A photo Mia had posted 5 minutes ago. She was sitting in a coffee shop, holding a cappuccino with her name spelled wrong on the cup, captioned, "Baristas never get it right." Full makeup, cozy sweater. Not exactly fresh out of surgery vibes. My mom had faked a medical emergency to shake me down. I didn't call her out. Didn't even text. Just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling that last sliver of trust shrivel up and die. 2 days later, she tried again. This time, she texted me directly. Can you help with rent this month? Everyone's struggling. I typed back. Everyone's best looks a lot like my worst. Sent it. Mute. That's when the retaliation began. First, Amanda's car got repossessed. I'd co-signed 2 years ago as a temporary favor and quietly had my name removed after the Bachelorette stunt. She'd been behind on payments for months. A coworker filmed the tow truck hauling it off. Then, the power at Mom's house got cut off. I'd still been on the utility account without realizing it. Paid it once to avoid damage to my credit, then removed my name. They went 36 hours without electricity. Taylor, my youngest sister, bounced rent at her apartment and moved back into Mom's place. She posted some long, vague Facebook rant about selfish people. I didn't even read it all. By week 3, the tone shifted from guilt trips to all-out smear campaign. My Aunt Lisa posted on Facebook Marketplace selling a coffee table for $60 with the description, "Family hardship due to betrayal. Please help." Betrayal. Because I stopped being an unpaid sponsor. I thought it couldn't get pettier until I got a fraud alert. Someone had tried to open a new credit card in my name. The application was sloppy, incomplete, but it had my address and partial SSN. I locked everything down, no confrontation. If they wanted to cross that line, I'd let them burn their own bridge. The final twist came on a quiet Sunday. I was making breakfast when there was a heavy, angry knock at my door. I opened it to find Mom, hair messy, eyes sharp, looking like she'd walked through a storm. She skipped the greeting and went straight to screaming. "You think you can just cut us off? You think you can throw your family in the street?" I didn't move from the doorway. "You chose this." She called me selfish, compared me to Dad, said I'd die alone. Then, without warning, she slapped me. Not hard, but enough to break whatever invisible thread was left between us. She grabbed a potted plant from my porch and hurled it down the steps, ceramic shattering. She knocked over my chair, scratched the railing with her keys, kicked my AC unit. I stayed calm, pulled out my phone, dialed the police. Her eyes went wide. "You'd call the cops on your own mother? On the woman who just vandalized my home?" "Absolutely." That was the moment she realized I wasn't bluffing anymore. But here's the kicker. The cops showing up wasn't even the craziest part. What happened after their visit would drag the rest of the family into a meltdown so big, it made the fake hospital stunt look like a warm-up act. And it started with one phone call from someone I never expected. The cops had barely left my driveway when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. For a second, I thought Mom had somehow roped the local news into calling me for a statement. But when I answered, a deep voice said, "Lucas, this is Mark Dawson. I think we need to talk." It took me a moment to place the name. Mark was my dad's old business partner, the guy I'd met maybe twice as a kid. The guy Mom always referred to as, "that snake who took your father's side." My guard went up instantly. "What's this about?" He sighed. "Your father passed away last month." I froze. We hadn't spoken in over a decade. I didn't even know what state he'd been living in. Mark continued. "He left a few things in order. And he left you something. But before we get to that, I think you should know why I'm calling you directly and not your mother." That's when he dropped the first bomb. "Your mother already knows about the inheritance. She's been trying to get her hands on it since the day after the funeral." I almost laughed. Of course she has. According to Mark, Dad had left me a decent chunk of money, enough to buy a small house outright if I wanted. The catch? It came with a stipulation. I had to claim it in person, sign the papers myself, and prove my identity. No one could do it for me. Mom had apparently called Mark multiple times pretending to be handling my affairs because I was too busy. She'd even tried to convince him I was unstable and needed her to protect my finances. Mark wasn't buying it. "I knew your dad for 30 years, he said. "He didn't leave this for her. He left it for you, and only you." As he talked, puzzle pieces started clicking into place. The fake hospital emergency, the sudden desperation, the constant guilt trips. They weren't just scrambling because I cut them off. They were scrambling because they thought I was about to get a windfall. And now I understood why my mom's meltdown at my door had been so nuclear. It wasn't about the lost favors. It was about losing control. Mark told me to come to his office that week to go over the paperwork. I agreed, but kept it quiet. No texts, no social media posts, nothing in writing. If Mom found out, she'd probably camp outside the building. Sure enough, the very next day, I got a text from Amanda. "Mom says you've been hiding things. Is it true?" I didn't reply. 2 hours later, Taylor texted, "If you're getting money, you better remember who's always been there for you." Always been there. These were the same people who forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. The day I went to see Mark, I took the back route across town. His office was in this old brick building that looked more like a library than a law firm. He had the papers ready, Dad's will highlighted in yellow. I signed. It was surreal, quiet, simple, no drama. Mark slid an envelope across the desk. This is a cashier's check. It's yours. Do whatever you want with it. I thanked him, tucked it into my jacket, and walked out feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't even make it home before the next twist hit. As I pulled into my driveway, there was Mom, again, this time sitting in her car with the window down. She got out slowly, no shouting this time. I just want to talk, she said, all soft-voiced, like the last 2 weeks hadn't happened. I didn't answer. She tried again. I heard you saw Mark today. My stomach dropped. I told no one. Then she smiled, tight, smug. You think you can keep secrets from family? Honey, I know everything. That's when I noticed her phone in her hand. She turned the screen toward me, and there was a photo of me walking into Mark's office. She'd had someone follow me. You're unbelievable, I said flatly. I'm your mother, she shot back. If you've got something coming to you, we all do. That's how family works. No, I said. That's how you work. Her smile vanished. You think you can cut us off and keep money for yourself? I will make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. I was done. Go ahead. Tell them. Tell them all I stopped being your personal ATM. She took a step closer, her voice dropping low. You'll regret this. I stepped back inside and closed the door in her face. She stood there a few seconds longer, then walked back to her car and drove off without another word. That night, the group chat lit up again, screenshots from Mom, my sisters piling on, aunts chiming in. They turned it into a full-blown smear campaign. And the craziest part? They still didn't know I'd already cashed the check. What they tried next was so reckless, so desperate, it made the private investigator-style stalking look tame. And it happened less than 48 hours later. By Friday morning, I'd muted the group chat again. It was just noise, memes, vague threats, guilt bombs. But I noticed something new. The messages weren't just from family members anymore. There were numbers I didn't recognize. Texts like, real men don't abandon their mothers, and you'll pay for what you did to her. Clearly, my mom had started recruiting outsiders to pressure me. I blocked every one of them. But then came the real hit. Around noon, I got a call from my bank's fraud department. A woman with a calm voice asked, Mr. Carter, did you authorize a wire transfer of $12,000 this morning? My stomach dropped. Absolutely not. She explained someone had walked into a branch 2 counties over with my driver's license and a forged signature. They tried to move the money to an account under a different name. The teller got suspicious when the ID photo didn't quite match. They'd left empty-handed, but the attempt triggered an alert, and now my accounts were frozen for security. I already knew who was behind it. There aren't many people who'd even know which bank I use. The timing, just days after the inheritance, wasn't a coincidence. And here's the unpredictable part. The branch manager had the whole thing on video. High-def footage. The person trying to clean out my account? It was my Aunt Lisa. The same one who'd been posting sob stories online about family betrayal. I drove straight to the branch. The manager replayed the footage for me. Lisa in a floral blouse, oversized sunglasses, handing over a license with my name. The worst part? The ID photo was a badly cropped picture of me from Facebook. It would have been hilarious if it wasn't criminal. Do you want to press charges? The manager asked. For a moment, I hesitated. This wasn't just drama anymore. This was felony territory. But the longer I stared at the paused frame of Lisa holding my stolen identity, the more I realized, if I didn't act now, they'd keep pushing. Yeah, I said. Press charges. That night, my phone rang again, Mark Dawson. I heard about the bank thing, he said. Lucas, you need to be careful. Your dad told me once your mother was resourceful. If she feels cornered, she'll try anything. I told him I wasn't scared. But honestly, I was starting to see what he meant. The fake hospital stunt, the inheritance stalking, now outright theft. None of this was normal family conflict. It was a system of manipulation that had gone into survival mode. Saturday morning, things went nuclear. I was making breakfast when someone started pounding on my door again. I checked the peephole, 2 uniformed police officers. Lucas Carter, one asked when I opened the door. Yes. We've had a report that you assaulted your mother during an argument on Thursday. I almost laughed out loud. That's not what happened. In fact, I have doorbell camera footage of her vandalizing my property that same day. They followed me to my laptop. I played the video, her slapping me, throwing the plant, scratching the railing. One officer's eyebrows shot up. That's not what she told us. Yeah, I said. It usually isn't. They took notes, asked if I wanted to file a counter report. I told them I already had one from the first visit. By the time they left, it hit me. She tried to use the police to turn me into the bad guy before the bank incident could even hit her radar. A preemptive smear to make my version harder to believe. That afternoon, Mark called again, but this time his tone was urgent. Lucas, I've been thinking. Your dad left more than money. There's also a safety deposit box in your name. I don't know what's in it, but if I were you, I'd get it before your mother figures out how. I didn't even wait until Monday. I drove to the bank that evening. Inside the box was an envelope with my name and Dad's handwriting, and something else, a small black USB drive. The letter was short. If you're reading this, they've probably already tried to take what's yours. This drive holds everything you'll need if it gets bad. No details, no explanations, just that. I took it home, plugged it into my laptop, and froze. The folders were full of scans, bank records, and emails, all in my mother's name. Years of financial games, hidden accounts, and questionable transfers. Some were so recent they had timestamps from last week. Dad had clearly been keeping tabs, even after the divorce. And now, whether I liked it or not, I had the receipts. I didn't know if using them would burn the last bridge or finally put an end to this war. But the moment I finished scrolling, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We know you went to the box. You don't want to play this game, Lucas. No name. No emojis. Just that. The next move was mine. And whatever I decided was going to change everything, for me and for them. I didn't sleep that night. The USB sat on my desk like a live grenade, daring me to pull the pin. Every file I'd opened screamed trouble. Tax records that didn't match, bank statements with unexplained withdrawals, wire transfers to names I didn't recognize. The oldest ones went back almost 15 years. The newest? Just 6 days ago. It wasn't just my mom, either. Amanda and Lisa were all over these records. Taylor's name came up less, but she'd been on the receiving end of plenty of loans from those mystery accounts. It was like staring at the blueprint of the very system I'd been trapped in for years, except now, I was outside of it. By morning, I made up my mind. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd make sure they understood what real leverage looked like. I didn't send the files to the police. Not yet. I sent them to the entire family group chat. No explanation. No caption. Just a zipped folder titled Your Legacy. Zip. The reaction was instant. Within 2 minutes, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Missed calls, frantic texts. Where did you get this? Delete that now. You have no idea what you've done. Mom didn't message me directly, but Amanda did. You just ruined our lives. Are you happy now? Yeah, actually. I was. An hour later, Uncle Jay called. He was the only one I hadn't sent the files to directly. He didn't need to see the mess. I don't know what you did, he said, but Lisa's in full panic mode. She's talking about fixing this before it goes public. Public. That was an interesting choice of word. It meant they weren't just afraid of me. They were afraid of other people finding out. By noon, things escalated. Mark Dawson called, sounding both impressed and concerned. Lucas, your father collected that for a reason. If your mother thinks you're about to use it against her, she might double down. Too late for warnings. I'd already gotten my first visit. Around 2 p.m., a black SUV pulled up outside my building. 3 people got out, 2 men in suits and 1 woman I didn't recognize. They weren't carrying weapons, but the vibe was pure intimidation. One of them knocked. When I didn't answer, they slid an envelope under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Cease all contact. Delete all files. Failure to comply will result in legal action. No letterhead. No signatures. Just an empty threat in Times New Roman. I tossed it in the trash. That evening, the group chat went eerily quiet. Too quiet. No arguments. No insults. Just silence. Then, at 9:47 p.m., Mom broke it. Her message was short. You've made your choice. Don't say I didn't warn you. The next morning, I found out what that meant. My landlord called to say someone had left an anonymous complaint claiming I was running an illegal business from my apartment. The city had to do an inspection. They didn't find anything, obviously, but it was clear this was retaliation. And if they were willing to go that far, I had to decide how far I was willing to go. I called Mark. What happens if I take this to the IRS? I asked. There was a pause. If even half of what's on that drive is real, he said, your mother could be looking at serious charges. Lisa too. Amanda might wriggle out of it, but it would scorch the earth for all of them. Scorching the earth sounded tempting. But I wasn't ready to be judge, jury, and executioner. Not yet. Instead, I picked one file. Just one. A transfer from Lisa's account to a shell company in her boyfriend's name. 2 weeks after she declared bankruptcy. Illegal, obvious, and easy to trace. I sent it anonymously to a local investigative reporter. If they took the bait, it would blow up in a way none of them could spin. The reply came within hours. This is solid. Expect a story by Monday. I leaned back in my chair, watching the city lights outside my window. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to their chaos. I was setting the terms. But I also knew something else. The second that story dropped, there'd be no going back. No half measures. No, maybe we can fix this. And if I thought they'd been unpredictable before, I had no idea what was coming next. Monday morning, my phone lit up before sunrise. I didn't even have to check the screen. I knew the article had dropped. The headline was impossible to miss. Local woman accused of hiding assets after bankruptcy. Exclusive documents reveal secret transfers. Front and center was a blurred-out still of Lisa from her Facebook profile, followed by screenshots of the transfer I'd sent. The reporter had done their homework, court records, interviews, even a line about possible federal investigation. Within an hour, Lisa's Facebook was gone. By noon, she'd locked her Instagram and deleted her marketplace listings. The group chat went nuclear. Amanda accused me of destroying the family for sport. Taylor called me a sociopath. Mom didn't say anything for a while, then finally sent, "You think this is over? You've just made it worse for yourself." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to explain, but I underestimated just how far they'd go. That evening, I got another knock at my door, not cops this time, but a courier with a large envelope. Inside was a legal notice. Mom was suing me for defamation and emotional damages. I laughed out loud, not because lawsuits are funny, but because I knew exactly what she didn't. Truth is an absolute defense. And I had more truth than she could handle. 2 days later, the Real explosion happened. The reporter published a follow-up story. This time, it wasn't just Lisa. They'd connected the dots from the USB, accounts in Mom's name, suspicious transfers to Amanda, and even a few involving Taylor. They didn't name me as the source, but the family knew. Oh, they knew. By Wednesday night, Uncle Jay called. "They're turning on each other," he said. "Lisa's blaming your mom. Amanda's blaming Lisa. Taylor's just crying and saying she didn't know anything." I could hear shouting in the background. It was chaos. "They're done, Lucas," Jay added quietly. "The circle is broken." That might have been the end, except the next day, Mom showed up at my apartment one last time. She didn't knock. She banged, over and over, until I opened the door. Her eyes were bloodshot. "You think you won, don't you?" she hissed. "This wasn't a game," I said. "You did this to yourself." She stepped closer, voice shaking, not with fear, but rage. "You're no son of mine." I nodded once. Finally, something we agree on. She froze for a moment, like she hadn't expected me to say it out loud. Then she turned and walked away without another word. The silence afterward was different. Not the tense quiet of a standoff. Not the brittle calm before another storm. It was final. The group chat went dark. No more guilt trips. No more fake emergencies. Just nothing. Weeks passed. The story faded from the headlines, though the fallout in their lives didn't. Lisa was under investigation. Mom's lawsuit went nowhere. Amanda stopped posting entirely. Taylor moved to another state. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just lived. Paid my own bills. Went to work. Booked another solo trip. Mountains this time. The USB drive went into a locked safe. Not because I needed it anymore, but because it was proof. Proof of how far they'd go and how far I'd come. One night, sitting on the cabin porch under a sky so full of stars it didn't look real, I thought about the last year. How it started with a canceled vacation deposit and ended with the entire circle scattered, burned by their own games. Part of me felt a little guilty. Human nature, I guess. But most of me felt free. Truly free. I'd stopped being their wallet. Stopped being their fallback plan. Stopped being the guy they could use without consequence. And maybe, just maybe, I'd learned the most dangerous thing someone like me can learn. I didn't need them. So now I'm here, asking you, because this is where I leave the story in your hands. If the people who are supposed to love you turn you into nothing more than a resource, would you burn every bridge to get your life back? Or would you still try to build one last way across? That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.